Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the annual service area committee meeting for Island Village. It is Friday, June 5th. It is now 10:05 a.m. We have quorum. We have our committee members joining us today. Joining us today in person, Esther Garouche, Kathy Paella, and Chris Alberts. Susan was not able to attend. She advised us beforehand, but we do have a quorum and we can proceed with the annual meeting. I am Alex Georgianis, Director of Service Areas. Next to me here is Service Area Administrator Delis Rodriguez. Joining us online is Jacob Waddle, General Manager. We also have Ray Febres, Finance Manager. And we also have Charles Richards, Service Area Liaison from the board. We also have one more person. Would you be able to identify yourself, please? Phone number 407-575-9484.
Maybe he doesn't have his microphone on?
Okay, we'll proceed. So we can have a motion to call the meeting to order
Motion?
and second. Our committee members, we have applications for our Esther Garouche, Kathy Paella, Susan Hoffman, and Chris Alberts. We can go around now and have each person vote for chair or vice chair. We'll do that.
I think that you have until 5, right?
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
maximum of 5?
Yeah, no, I mean, you have until 5 for receiving.
Yeah, we can do that.
Right, I'm not receiving anything else. But
It's
we can
highly
do-
unlikely
we can
that
do
we're
the
gonna
chair.
get another one,
We can do the chair.
and the vice chair.
Kathy, your votes for chair and vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Esther as vice chair.
Vice chair. And for chair?
Myself.
And then I'll nominate that.
And Chris, nomination for chair? And vice chair? And Esther, nomination for chair?
I'm sorry?
A nomination for a chair, chairperson of the committee?
Yeah.
Kathy? And vice chair? So that establishes it. Chairperson of the committee is Kathy and vice chair is Esther. Excellent. Reminder that the quarterly meeting dates were posted with the application online. So we have those ahead of time. You'll also be getting via email the code of conduct, which will be emailed for signature. Return, please.
I've already turned mine in as well as Sue's.
Excellent. Reminder, all business should be done through the committee emails. And any personal requests for home should be done through Mail, not through committee emails, just to separate personal from business matters.
Okay.
Any questions regarding committee? No. Excellent. So this will adjourn the annual meeting. Motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Excellent. This concludes our annual meeting and we can roll right into the quarterly meeting for the service area for Island Village. It is now 10:09 a.m. and we will commence the quarterly meeting for Island Village. And going through the agenda. Do our quorum verification as well. Motion to call the meeting to order for the quarterly meeting. And second? Through our quarterly items. Let's go through the financials. As of the end of April, operating cash in the accounts is just over $24,000. And reserve funds just shy of $300,000.
Which page are we on, Alex?
On the financial report, just looking at just a summary page.
Oh, okay, good.
There we go, good. So top left there, we see the 24,000 in operating cash. This is as of the end of April. And second column bottom, 294,000 for reserves. Any questions on that?
I did have a question.
Mhm.
Can you explain what is the interfund assets?
Yeah, basically, we're short on our reserve allocations. We're doing catch-up, which has been going on for years. So our reserve study states that we should be at a certain point at the end of every year, on our accounts. And that's our shortage as of the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken, 48,000. So we have to make that up at some point. So we do that, we incorporate that into the annual budgets incrementally. We can't do 48,000 in one shot. It would be a tremendous increase in dues. But we're looking to make that up and catch up to where the reserve study would like us to be, based on our projected projects upcoming.
When phase two is turned over, how is that gonna affect the reserves? Does it remain the same or
Well,
is it?
technically, the reserve
Jack.
study would be updated because when we have more properties, the magnitude of projects will increase.
This could potentially be in a worst case scenario that we are now.
Although the theory is that our income will sort of track with the expenses, so it should increase linearly. We might even have a net increase in profits, because the expenses won't go up linearly as the income. So that's what we're sort of looking at in this budget cycle as well.
Like our timing for repairs is before theirs. So as we're.
That has an impact. That would be on a year-to-year basis, depending on how many we take on board that particular year. Good.
With your answer that you were saying, I see this as a negative under the operating fund,
Correct.
but it's a positive under the reserve fund.
It's the assumption that it's accredited. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Esther. Let me turn off my camera, I'm sorry. Yeah, so usually all the allocations to the reserve fund are made from the operating fund. And basically what you're seeing in the financials, you see a negative in operating because we're saying the operating owes this amount of money to the reserve. That's why it's a positive on the reserve side, because we have to take that into consideration when we're presenting the total assets of that operating fund. Like right now, if we just take into consideration in operating your cash and your investments, it's gonna present or show a higher number in total assets under operating. That's why we need to show that credit to decrease those assets, because in reality, that money belongs to the reserve fund. That's why you see the negative in one side and the positive in the other side. Another note that I wanted to say is that this interfund balance is not from last year or this year. This is coming from 2023. And we're trying to work with the auditors to see if the balance that we currently have in the reserve fund is enough for us to reverse this transaction in order for us not to need to have to transfer this money from operating to reserve, because this was not built into this budget. So we don't have the funds to actually cover this debt unless we have savings throughout the year that we feel comfortable that we can transfer those funds from operating to reserve without affecting the day-to-day operation of Island Village.
We understand where that 48, where that came from, why we're under that amount.
Because from the beginning,
It was a matter of the income wasn't sufficient to cover the allocation of reserves on a monthly basis. Is that one particular year? Is it through 2023 or only that year? Do we know, right?
I think it was through 2023, yes.
That makes sense. So every year we have to contribute, we have our dues coming in and a percentage of that is allocated towards reserves. So the income wasn't sufficient to meet that obligation. So that's why we fell behind. Through
Was it
2023.
the percentage that goes to reserves, it was not initially funded properly, or is it that?
I think the projection or the expectation of reserve balance at the end of those years was higher than our income. So that's why we fell behind. That's it.
It's a byproduct of new development starting out.
yeah,
Part of
and if I recall correctly too, they used, not an actual projection, it was like, oh, they based it on another area that was similar.
Yes, based on the, for instance, life expectancy of paint or roof. So if things come up earlier, our expenses will jump up as
So
well.
the expectation was
but
actually.
They have exactly what you said. They take ideas from similar communities as projections on life
Who's
expectancy.
they? I mean, who?
Oh, that's the company who does the reserve studies.
The reserve
I think
study.
we have one coming up next year, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll look at that if we want to update that projections.
Is it possible to get, I know you guys have provided the study results, you have provided like the expenditures, the sheet that you provided that shows our expenditures 2025 through 2036.
Correct.
Would you be able to do a side-by-side of a year-by-year assessment of our risk? Like how much are we expected to be getting based on what we're getting from income on a yearly basis versus what we expect to pay out, let's say in 4 years versus then accumulating more and then 10 years from now to see if we're negative at any time, because I did back of the envelope math
Mhm.
with numbers, and I don't know if my given numbers are correct.
Mhm.
But based on that, it looked like we would be okay for the next 10 years at the rate that we're going.
We're trending positively, man. Yeah.
So it's just, if that analysis could be done, it should be pretty, it's just very simple.
We would do a high level analysis, and Ray, we could take into account some interest that we're getting, and sort of, again, it's all based on projections, right? How much will dues rate increase year over year?
Right.
We'll have to make certain assumptions in doing something like that. You have input on that, Ray? Is that something that's on a high level, could be done?
Because I think the only major cleanup would be.
Sort of like a check, I think they're looking for. How are we looking in reality? We have the reserve study, and how are we tracking?
Yeah, usually when we're going to be reviewing the budgets for next season, and we'll be discussing the new reserve allocation for the next year, and we're gonna give you, hey, this is where we're stand right now. This is what you're going to be allocating for the remainder of the year. This is going to be your beginning balance for next year. If we don't have any additional expenses throughout the year, we're going to have more details on that. The reserve study is expecting for you guys to have this beginning balance. Your actual beginning balance is going to be this one. That's why we recommend that the allocation for 2027 is going to be this amount. That analysis is going to all be included with the budget documents. Yes.
Right, but the
Right.
budget only refers to 1 year. What I'm asking for is our
No,
next
but-
10-year analysis
Yeah,
that shows by year, this is what you're anticipating to be
Something like
collected.
that, and we're gonna have to just plug in a bunch of assumptions. I mean, it's assumption based, right?
So,
We'll do it. Right.
Yeah, but the reserve study is going to be reviewed in that conversation. The reserve study includes 2027, 2028, up to that year that you're talking about. And you're going to be able to see what deficit you'll be carrying year after year, unless you make certain allocations to the reserve fund. Yes, you're going to be able to see all that information.
There's gonna be other assumptions also, how many new homes we take on board, and again, it's gonna be a wash or it'll be a net positive potentially.
And how they overlap with us.
Go ahead, Nick.
So your reserve study has a 30-year plan. So you have a 30-year laid out. You're about 3 years into it, so you have 27 years left on that. We are expecting to do another reserve study for CROA in the first quarter of 2027 because of the additional amenities in Island Village, and we'll most likely be having the Island Village service areas reserve study revised as well, as it has a larger turnover, or as we have accepted more buildings. Bear in mind, the contributions listed out in your reserve study funding plan for the year of 2027 are based off of the door count that existed when that plan was made in 2024. So you may see a allotment recommended by management higher than the reserve study recommends because you have a larger service area than that reserve study considers, which is why we're looking at having that reserve study redone next year for you. Also, when service areas start out, as we know with the reserve study, it's for your major replacements, your roof, and paint finishes. Those are the main costs that are attributed to your reserves. Most of those, in most senses, when you replace a roof, you start funding for your next roof immediately, that next year, that next month. When we take turnovers, especially how it's been with Mattamy, is we're looking almost a year into the build until it's turned over to the association, thus meaning we're about a year behind on funding for those projects from the bat, which is what we experienced a couple of years ago and why we saw these increases in the reserve. But that'll continue as these turnovers happen, that we're on every building roughly a year short on funding the reserve because the building was built, which means we need to start depreciating those assets for replacement, but we haven't started funding into it while it's still on those homeowners are paying Mattamy until the building's turned over. And when they pay Mattamy for assessments, they don't pay into reserves.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Not collecting for a year, but the clock is ticking towards repairs.
That's why there's
So-
such a rush to turn over.
Yeah.
And we do it.
I think that analysis would help if you could do that. And we get it that it's based on assumptions, but at least to give us an idea. I was looking at the first one that we're going to incur is in 27, which is for walls, paint finishes, ceilings, and repairs. And it looks like we have the money for that. We're okay for next year, but then How did the next year's look? after
Right, that would deplete the account quite a bit, and then we have to recharge again. So the good thing is, in a sense, think about the new homes coming on board will be coming in at the higher dues. So hopefully that should accelerate somewhat, but we'll factor that into, we'll do a high level analysis to see how we're tracking. 10 years, we'll shoot.
Great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Excellent. So moving on from financials, some notes around the service area. Irrigation, as you know, we're in a drought and we seem to be doing better this year overall based on just pictures I've seen from last year versus this year. A couple of modifications we've done and we're gonna use this moving forward is modifying the irrigation schedule. So we find overnight, you're gonna get that dribbling, you see little puddles and you see in the grass, you'll see a green spot and then brown. That means the spray is not spraying and it's staying localized around the sprinkler head. So the entire sprinkler head system is not pressurizing. But we run it, say, after 10 a.m. and get full pressure. And then second step after that will be if we see particular homes which are still experiencing some browning, we'll run it the second time that day. What I learned was that last year we were running, I think, across the board 2 times per day. But we have to be more selective with the times because if we run overnight, we're running the water very localized. I don't feel like it's very efficient doing it that way. So we'll do 10 a.m. and then maybe a 1 p.m., 2 high pressure times of the day. So we get full application of our sprinkler heads. We've continued to do the upgrades in the irrigation lines from the 3/4 to the 1 inch. We have a couple of properties where just the length of lines is super long. So even that 1 inch upgrade, I think your homes is one of those. So that's the next step. And part of that is across the board, the design is for too many heads on a zone for that size of pipe. So ultimately, if we need to, we'll split up a zone. So I have one zone with 20 heads, make it into 2 zones with 10 and 10. So that's the next step. But we seem to be effective with the modification of the schedule. And also what we've done in the easements, for instance, we have 2 rows going along the easement on the sidewalk side and on the curb side. We've turned off the ones on the curb side and running only the ones on the sidewalk side spraying out towards the street. And we've modified the sprinkler coverage to cover that. So we have fewer heads, increasing the pressure, and we still get our coverage. So it seems to be working.
Yeah, I've seen it. It seems to be working
Yeah.
much better.
In the bigger yards, we're trying to do the same thing, reduce the number of heads, but put rotors that have long range coverage. So again, it's the same concept, fewer heads, trying to increase the pressure, but we have to compensate with the coverage on the sprinkler heads. That seems to be working. If not, the next step is we'll split the zone and try that out. I think yours is a candidate, and down on Island Village Way, I believe, is another candidate, where it's just a long run from the valve to the very end of the line. And there we notice the pressure drop the most. But overall, it's a net positive. We're still working it out, and we have a game plan going into next year. We do think this year's drought is on its way out. So we've got through the bumpiest part of the road, we think. But going into next year, we know right away, we start seeing symptoms. We're gonna execute our shifted schedule, number 1. And then number 2 will be increased or double frequency on certain homes, which are worse than others. So at least we have a game plan moving forward and seem to be doing well with that. Any questions on drought irrigation?
So there's just 2 more candidates you said, or extending lines, and that's it for now.
It's a matter of where do we want to spend the money. It's an option. If we see that
And
the
I'm good with
second.
it, I just wanna make sure, for right now, we think it's just those 2
We're trying
areas.
not to spend the money. Yeah, if we don't need to, we'll do the split and then we'll see going down the road outside of the drought time. If we still see any browning, that'll be a good candidate. But within the drought period, it's the shifting schedule and double schedule if we need to. On a per home basis though, because I think it was like 10, 15,000 last year at water bill jumped because we were just running across the board double and it was inefficient doing it that way. So we seem to be getting a nice balance of spending a little bit more on water, but getting more bang for your buck essentially.
So you're monitoring those changes to see.
Yeah,
if they're-
again, if you're going around and walk through, say, the CR's looking a little yellow, this spot's looking yellow, what happens is if that sprinkler head doesn't run even a night or 2, they say the grass grows over the head and then the head doesn't come up. If one head doesn't come up, especially early in the line, then the rest of the line doesn't pressurize. So if you see yellow, brown anywhere, just shoot me a note or go up, whatever's easiest for you, and we can address it.
That's what I have been doing.
And it works, it's a good system. If we know, the faster we can address it, otherwise we wait, because then irrigation technically will only be there once a month to inspect. And if we don't have any sort of feedback to them, I've largely lost that way.
Great, appreciate it. The charges for that, did it fall in 25 or is it now in 26?
For the upgrades,
For the.
as they get done, they can fall in this year. So whatever the calendar year when the work gets done. Set the questions.
Well, I guess I was asking, was there some done last year? 25.
Upgrades, I'll take a look. So the 3/4 to 1 inch upgrades,
Mhm.
I'd take a look. I think maybe we squeezed one in at the end of last year.
So do you remember? It was a
At
while
the
ago.
beginning of this year, mine.
Yeah. Whatever is executed, we bill accordingly in that calendar year.
Okay. So Coastal Way, which was the first, they would have billed probably in summer.
I want to say, I remember at the end of
Yes.
last year, we may have had one. But even billing, I mean, depending what time the invoice comes in, and then when we actually pay it, it could fall over the calendar year. Is that right, Ray? Just a quick question. On the allocation of the expense, if we pay the bill this year, it goes on this year's budget effectively, right? Even though the work was done last year, the invoice may have come in last year. It's when we pay it. How does it work?
So, okay, so if we receive, we can, we can have an expense this year, and then if we receive the invoice early next year, it's gonna impact next year's budget. But yeah, as long as we receive the invoice on time this year, and we can pay it this year, it's not gonna have any, we're not gonna have any issues with the 2027 budget, yeah.
Because I think in irrigation repairs is just one of the things that I had noted. We had like 884 budgeted and we have already done 46.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how this is impacting our.
It's gonna go over, but then what we look at is for next year, we're increasing that budget line item. A lot of items are like that. I mean, for instance, we'll get into it like with gutter cleaning, we're gonna be over budget. It's just a matter of when the bills come in and our estimate for that price of that line item as well. You're just off. So we have to catch up with it next year. But Jacob,
Looking at your books, out of the 4,600 currently on the book for 2026, 1,100 of it was for December 2025.
Okay,
And
So
then the
it's
rest of
not-
it was a January and February.
okay.
and then what I'll try to do, if the irrigation line, for instance, is exhausted, we'll start taking out of the landscaping to feed it. And then we'll be less plant material for that year. I mean, that'll be what I'll try to do, make up, so we don't get overlooked. That makes sense.
But when Alex says that, it'll still reflect in your irrigation line as an overage, but then he'll just work to maintain and, under
Operating.
budget on the
Fine.
landscaping.
This is a small thought that came to me. On the gutter cleaning, they charge just for doing the area, not how many gutters actually need to be cleaned, correct?
Correct, they hit every house regardless. You saying how
Right,
dirty
to
one
look
is.
at
is
it and
fine or
it doesn't
not.
need it, or to look at it and it does need to,
Oh, no, they just do across the board. So how many homes? It's that many
because
homes.
mine never gets done.
We want to watch that. That's another thing we want. Anytime we have work getting done, we need that feedback so we can follow up. We don't have that
Yeah,
feedback.
'cause I told you about it last year.
For the, I have another.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, do you get, when you get those gutter thing, do you get an assessment or anything? Or-
Drone footage, of post, clean gutters, aerial photography. So, but before, we were looking at before and after, but again, it's hard to, unless we price it on a per home basis. And then we look at before and after, but the point is they're getting up there, so they're gonna charge regardless. It's that labor of getting up on a ladder, shifting over. So
My
it's gonna
thought
be
is
minimal.
maybe not charge as much.
It's an
Like if
option.
they climb the ladder and look at my gutter, oh, there's nothing to take out, because they said they only take organic material,
Mhm.
not the little granules from the roof. So we have never had any organic material, so there's nothing to remove. To climb a ladder and look at it can't be more than a couple of bucks versus climbing the ladder and having it clean.
Doesn't matter how do they allocate their expense, how much of it is setting up to the ladder, getting up there, coming back down versus the actual cleaning portion.
I mean, I know it's tedious and it's minutia,
Yeah.
but it
Anything
could
that could
save,
reduce.
considering how many homes there are.
Yeah, we can aim for that.
I could ask,
Yeah, good.
since you're on the irrigation and financial.
Mhm.
There were two invoices or two, we call them adhesive bits,
Good, good.
proposals,
Ah,
estimates
Yeah,
that we approved last year.
Okay.
Right, to make, and we purposely held back because the water wasn't running, it was gonna be a waste of money. Do those get closed down and a new one is then done for twenty
so
twenty-six?
just rolls over for 26, so it becomes a 26 bill instead of a 25.
Okay. Any dollars, I cannot remember the answer to this, but any dollars that were not used in 2025, do they then, because we had some dollars allocated for that, does that roll into 2026 to be able to use it?
Yeah,
In
it rolls
addition
into
to
the
what we
operating
budgeted
account.
for?
It's the same cash in the account. Same pool of money, is that the question?
I'm
It doesn't get allocated elsewhere.
Right, and the overage goes still into our our pockets
Well, yeah,
for next
Mhm.
year, for this year in addition. to-
service area pocket, not on the per,
Right.
okay,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, correct.
Let's say the right words. So it goes into service area operating expense.
It
budget.
remains there. In your bank account, think of it as your bank account. You didn't spend the fund last year, it's available for spending this year.
Oh,
Correct. Yeah, it's catching your bank account.
fantastic.
I'm sorry.
Moving on activity in the service area. We have plant installation.
One quick one. You're gonna also inquire as to like drone footage before the cleaning and with the gutters and clean.
And, yeah,
Compare what
price-
you need to add.
Exactly, so the price for picks before. And then to see if we could have a per home evaluation or unit price almost, depending on the severity.
Right, like out of 100, if only 50 need to be cleaned.
But the assessment they did last time, did they do before and after, or they just?
No.
after?
After all.
So we don't really know what it was.
I only know because I look out my window when I.
And Kathy's right, I mean, we have immature trees, so we're not gonna have really, that's what again, there is gonna be more. of the-
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
No, it makes sense,
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, we have no data to support
Comparison.
It also depends on what trees, like I know I back up to the apartment parking lot, where there's big oak trees, and I have leaves all over my grounds, but there is never anything in the gutter.
It's gonna be depending on the community and what the trees are.
Mhm.
For sure, and over time, it'll change, I mean, as the trees mature,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have more,
Yeah.
like you said, organic
Absolutely.
material, but for now, it's less of that, it's gonna be more of, material from the roof, type of, or something that flew in from somewhere possibly.
What about, does anyone ever, I'm sorry to ask, but does anyone ever check the gutters themselves to make sure they're in place, they're not falling apart? There's not
That's part of
a
this.
drainage issue?
Yeah,
Because I know, I think, like, one of my homes, they have, like, water's coming down the middle, and it's gonna, obviously,
Well, then that needs to be.
that should be recorded, like part of this project, that would be part of its evaluation, they do a spot check, see, they recommend this. Otherwise, if you see a problem, just submit it, we take care of
Got
it.
the same problem. They came in and repaired it.
Sometimes it's just a mistake with installation, or sometimes it's design problem and they need additional downspout to compensate for the volume of water. So it's case by case, scenario.
Are you moving out of the finance piece or not yet?
Whatever you like, Phil. What do you?
Is that okay? I have a couple of things. The pressure washing. I think that we.
Glass,
What's that?
glass that we did recently?
The first half, the pressure washing,
Did we do it?
yes,
Okay. And it was only, that's the spring, which is the lighter version.
it's the glass.
Not the building.
Is it already charged or that's coming up?
Because we paid those out.
Because I saw zeros for that.
Ray, do you know, did we pay out the pressure washing, the flags from, I think, a month or two ago?
I believe so. Let me check right now.
You saying that line item is zero or no expenses?
Through April, because we only have the April one. It shows 0 to date. So I didn't know if we were just not doing it and I missed it or something.
Yeah, no, it was definitely there, it was there.
Sorry, I have to ask.
Those are sorry.
There's $102,000 negative recognized reserve revenue adjustment. It's on finance report, page 11. Yeah. And while he's answering, we're getting to the other one, roof repairs are over budget.
Oh, yeah.
What happened to the roofs?
Just spot repairs, leaks, that sort of thing. And, minimal trip, usually it's $800 when the guy comes out, they'll replace a section of shingles, underlayment as necessary. Plywood, but usually it's not plywood, it's usually just underlayment, shingles, usually nail holes, it's poor labor practice.
So we may need to consider a higher budget. for this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Trending.
you'll see, I'm sorry, you'll see the spring pressure washing payment now in your May financials, 3,500.
And then Ray, there's another question on minus 100,000 reserve, what was that, Esther?
Minus, I see.
On the management report,
Minus 102,000, a negative recognized reserve revenue.
Oh, yeah, the thing is that we cannot recognize revenue we shouldn't recognize a surplus on your reserve or capital financials. So what we do is we just reclass those revenues and we take them to capital. But you still have the cash in your,
say it again, Ray, start from the beginning, one more time.
Ray, can you go to that page just so that they can see it on the screen? I think it's page 11 on the
Okay.
financial report.
let me see, maybe I'm talking about something different. information. I'm downloading the financials. Page 11. Let's see, let me share my screen. Is it this page? This is page 11 on my PDF. I don't know.
Wait,
It's not it.
catch up to you.
Which?
Oh, that's so tiny.
Zoom in Ray a little bit. Do one more time.
Okay. Like
There you
this.
go.
You
Is
find
this
it there?
I don't know if if it's this is page 11 on the financials, but this is the trailing 12-month report, which includes information from May of last year. So maybe this is not the report that you're referring to.
What's the title, Esther?
I mean,
The report you're looking at?
It's the financial report page, page 11.
Is it a chart like that?
I think so.
And what's the title of that chart? The one you're looking at?
It just says financial. Shoot. You know what I can do? I don't want to hold you guys up. I can always shoot this over an
Yeah,
email.
yeah, do that. You could answer that.
Yeah.
Offline.
And then, so these are all financial related.
Sure.
Reserve funds, we know we have about 57, what is it? We have 57,000 in CD, which matures in July. So then we would redo it again. Can we reassess rather than just automatically renewing to see if there's an opportunity to get a higher yielding CD?
Yeah, I mean, before we renew it, Ray could shoot out some options that we have available to us.
How much do you want it to? Or you want to just get another one?
Renews every 6 months, so rather than just
Sometimes a
automatically.
3 month might be a little more competitive than a 6
Just we
months.
did, I thought we, did like different ones, 3, 6.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, we did the 6-month one, but it's at 3.57 is the
Let's see if
interest.
there's a better rate.
So I'm wondering if at this point, it's
Yeah,
a
when
year
the first
later.
week comes up, Ray will shoot some options out and we'll get some input and move forward with that.
And then along those lines, we may want to consider putting more into there.
If
At that time, we could look at that for
If
sure.
we're not using it right away,
Right,
depending
Yeah,
on what
fair.
we're gonna need next year,
correct.
but maybe we can put a bigger chunk so that we can get a higher return.
Well, that's all going to depend basically on what we have to pay for at the time, right?
Or coming up within that period, if we want to lock it in. Yep, good.
Okay, so if you don't mind putting that there. And then the operating funds. Do you have that, the operating funds are, obviously they have to be liquid when you're paying. Are they like in the low savings, like 1%, nothing?
Yeah.
Is there opportunity to put it in something that's higher, but that is not penalty if you withdraw? There's like
Something
maybe
higher
high.
Oh, like a
yield
money market?
savings. No, high yield savings accounts, FDIC insured, which is another.
Are there any options for investing, I guess, operating funds that still remain liquid available to us? But I guess they look for higher interest effectively is the question for operating funds.
I can check with our partner banks of about what type of products, other products do they offer, but typically we use, I'm gonna use Crow as an example. We have a money market account on the Crow side that is highly liquid and it has a good interest rate. But then for Island Village to get approval to get a money market account, they will have to go through the board to get approval as well, and then we can go and maybe because probably our partner banks, say an example, the one that we're using currently is First Citizen Banks. I believe they do not offer the money market account option to HOAs. So we will have to go to a separate bank. Right now, we're using for the money market account for Crow, we're using Truist. So we might have to go to Truist and open a new bank account with them. Yes. But it's an option, yes.
An option we can look at
Yeah, of course.
to see,
Yeah.
hey, might as well make money on our money.
Yeah,
Does
possible.
Pro approve that, or,
Yes.
It will go through the board, yeah. Charles, you want to jump in?
I
I was gonna say is
Yeah.
Charles.
Just as a note, we recently opened a money market account for Crow, a new one, and the rates were not that high. The bank approved an exception for Crow to offer a higher interest rate Of course, it was dependent on the amount of money that CRA was gonna deposit on that account, which is
Yeah,
it was significant, yes.
yeah, that's my understanding too. I think we could certainly talk about it. I think the one thing though is obviously we have several service areas, and when we start deviating a bit on things like this, I want to make sure that the management team can properly administer this. And obviously, we need to do side by side, right? Like which one obviously is going to be most liquid, most, return on investment, all that. So certainly was something we can look at and talk about. But I want to be cognizant of some of the things that the management team is looking at through this process. But, if it makes sense, we'll certainly progress it and I'll certainly advocate for it.
Fair enough.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I'll also preface that we sometimes see especially on the CROA side, that some individuals like to go and do the research themselves. Rates that you receive as an individual person are different than what we can get as an HOA. A lot of those rates don't apply to an HOA business account. So just a heads up. Sometimes we see like, oh, Truist is offering, this for me. Well, that's not. We don't get those same rates for an HOA.
We did a
Yes.
little legwork last year to help out on our own, but we always mentioned it was it's for an HOA, not for ourselves. I don't know if that makes a difference, or they still give us a different rate, but whatever you think is just as long as we can consider and do some evaluation.
Sure.
Rather than let it sit, it's just.
Yes, and just as a separate note as well, we will still need to have a checking account with a partner bank so that we can integrate that account with our system. So when we're processing payments, it flows through the system flawlessly and everything gets processed. If we're using non-partner banks like Truist, we wouldn't be able to do that. So even if you go and open a money market account with Truist, we will still need to keep the First Citizen Bank or another account with another partner bank.
Okay. There's another thing regarding approaching the $250,000 FDIC limit. Is that an issue with our funds?
No, so usually what we recommend is if we're investing money, we go with the CDARS, because with the CDARS, yes, the FDIC limit is $250,000, but what they do with the CDARS is that a bank partners with other banks, and when one entity goes above the $250,000 threshold, they take the difference and they send it to a separate bank and then start over. So you have $250,000 in this bank, and then you have the remaining on another bank, and it's still covered by the FDIC, I guess, policy. So yeah,
Okay,
if you do a regular certificate of deposit, that doesn't happen. So you get to the 250. Once you go over the 250, you're no longer protected. That's why we use the CDARS. Yes. And it's important for you guys to know that the CROA and all service areas are under their same EIN number, which means that maybe you feel that you only have $50,000, so you have $200,000 to go. No, we need to take into consideration the investments that CROA has and all the other service areas as one as well. It's just one entity, CROA and the service areas.
Any more, Esther?
there is on the 12-month data financial, the 2025 trading 12-month data. There was one general line that said 5,788. It was different from all the other months. I think December 25. Maybe
Yes, I
that's-
see here. Landscape in general is 5,788.
And that was different from all the other months. What was that reason again?
Let me go back to those numbers. Okay, so we have here. Seems that it was a plant installation project. Yes, I'm gonna share the invoice. It's plant installation. Let me share my screen. from Exquisite. The date of the invoice is November, but we received it and processed it in December. Island Village Townhomes, let me make this bigger. And it's all of this, plan installation, and you'll see the total at the bottom, 5,788.
No, this is the one that's on hold until we solve the irrigation issues, and we're gonna get through the drought.
Right, but it's on, did it show up, is what I'm saying. I saw it showed up on the, we have this on hold, right, so we haven't charged, we said we're gonna charge in 26. There was it was showing up in the 12-month data. General line shows 5788 spent in 1 month. So it was spent. So I'm just wondering, it's hard to see it without the
Is that
financial.
stuff that was done in the fall?
It might, right, because it's the accrual process, is that why it showed up, but it wasn't actually paid out? Is that what we're saying? Or it was paid out?
It was paid out.
What's the question? Or
It
was
was
it?
on hold. So we paid, it was on hold because it wasn't supposed to be installed. And they weren't installing anything. So why did we pay prior to the work? Because we earlier said the two were on hold and that it was gonna roll over to be paid in 2026,
Mhm.
but it's showing up as paid in 2025. So why did we pay for
When
it?
did we say it was on hold? That was a December bill, right?
Probably
Yeah,
two of them.
let me
What was
confirm
that?
with you the payment date.
Estimate that was done over the summer into the fall.
In your action items. In your action items, you have 3 items, and there's 2 of them that are related to the 2 invoices. I don't have it in front of me right now, unfortunately. If you have that, we can see if one of those is 5788. I'm just wondering why we paid for something in December when we've put almost everything towards the end of last year on hold.
Yeah, it was confirmed. It was paid in December 22nd.
Performed over the summer.
So let's make sure.
Oh, no.
It was
only
paid in
for-
December, it was done at the end of last year. Is that the question?
The question is, there's a charge in December for 5788.
Okay,
What
And we
is
don't know when
pertaining
the
to?
work was done.
Because we only know of 2 invoices that were approved and they were held back to be done this year. So why was something paid in December if the work has not been done?
okay.
Unless it's for another
Yeah,
estimate that came through 3 months later.
that's what I'm thinking. It may be that what was paid, what was work that was done over the summer into the fall. Then the fall estimate for the upcoming. We'll get that information on and send it to them.
In the future, if you want to get these questions to us
I
beforehand,
understand.
so that we could have all your answers ready for
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay, so is that it for financials?
That's it for finance.
Okay, let's move along.
Excellent. Moving on in the service area activities, plant installations are on hold due to drought conditions. Mulching between the homes is ongoing throughout the service area. Actually, mulch is being applied, but we're also adding that border between homes to keep the landscape equipment off the homes from damage. So that's in progress. Pressure washing, we mentioned the flats were done. Gutter cleaning scheduled for July, and we have some questions. We'll follow up with the vendors to see if that'll help us reduce our costs. And also, more importantly, collect data before and after to see actual conditions necessary. An item reminder for July 23rd, we have our meet and greet. It's our second time doing that. So if everyone could come out, that would be great.
That's a new town hall?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's
gonna be an
item.
Well, that's even better. I get to walk there.
Turnovers are in progress. They're trying to get us to take 4 more buildings there in the new development. We've done inspections, engineers have come out. So we're at the tail end of acceptance of that and keep you posted with that. Then more will continue throughout the end of the year.
Are we thinking of doing turnovers closer to the building's construction? And there's a reason why.
Turnover inspection, we're referring to. Turnovers is not based on us, it's the developer telling us when they're ready. We have no impact on that or no input really.
But we have acceptance, right, when they turn over, or
To a point, we do
We
our,
come back and say there's things that they need
Correct.
to fix, and there's a period that we can get that feedback. I'm wondering, like, how that, if we could have input into that in case we see things that during that period, I don't know if that goes to CROA or that goes to.
there's a possibility, I would imagine. Jacob, what do you think about committee members providing input on turnovers?
No, the Mattamy does this more as a goodwill with us for the turnover, as really the agreement is between the celebration company, aka Disney, and Mattamy. And then typically by the time they're ready to turn it over to us, Disney has already signed off. So our sign off is a little like we're working with Mattamy. We have a much better relationship with them now, and they're than we did originally, and they're adhering a lot more to our feedback as far when it comes to the punch list items. But as far as being able to really push back on acceptance, that's not something we have a large amount of leverage on. Yes, Charles?
I echo everything Jacob said. I think, we'll certainly engage the committee as needed, if there's engineering or things that, need to be brought to everyone's attention. But I think at this point, and look, I mean, hopefully, we'll certainly advocate for everything that you all feel is appropriate. But I think to Jacob's point, we have a better relationship with Mattamy. We'll continue to work through them, and obviously if things come up, we'll try to coordinate those. But I think we're in a much better position than we were years ago. But I have to support management on this. So thank you, Jacob. I agree.
Thank you, Charles. We have another, it looks like a resident with their hand up.
On a side note too, I walked through it, we walked through it on the service area. There's practically no sprinkler area that would be part of the service area. So part of it was at the park,
Apartments, yeah.
the parklets. So that helps us too. There's less worry about the irrigation of the parks.
But I know
It's
that was one of our
basically
primary
triple.
issues. I just wanted to know if there was a mechanism that we had feedback into that. That was my question. Sounds like the answer is
No,
And can the committee and or the homeowner themselves request the turnover inspection that was done on their home?
Via a records request submitted to townhall@sierramail.com, subject records request with their address. Yes.
I think you said somebody on the line has a question.
It looked like they dropped their hand.
Is that something that maybe we want to, I'm gonna think about this a little bit differently. Is this something that we can proactively provide to the committee, Jacob, outside of a records request? And if it has to go through records request, that's fine, but I'm just thinking if it's for the committee's consumption.
maybe see the inspector's report.
The turnover. Yeah, the turnover.
So
If it's a record request, that's fine. I'm just trying to.
yeah, it needs to probably stay that way. Typically, because there's the first level, which is a punch list of a combined notes from the engineer and from our landscape and covenants walk. Then that's once we send that over, it's usually a couple of months until we hear back from them that they are ready for a walk again.
Okay.
And then by that point, they've addressed those items.
Okay.
And then that's typically where it gets accepted. So I mean, what you'll be seeing mostly is that first level punch list,
Mhm.
and then there might be a secondary with one or two items on it,
Mhm.
and then it kind of tails off there because they're ready. They're push at that second when they say they're ready and they've completed our initial inspection requests.
Okay.
That's when they're pushing it to us to send to the board for acceptance.
Got it. Okay. The only reason I was asking is because I'm thinking like Brian's landscaping reports, right? I know those go to the committee, so I didn't know if there were any parallels between those, but we can keep it as is, but maybe we'll continue to keep tabs on it.
Yeah. So typically when we do those inspections, it's Alex, Delise, we have the landscaper, and then our engineer, our hired engineer as well. We get feedback from all of them and send that over directly to Mattamy. As well as community standards on those.
So along with that, I'm just gonna ask a question on behalf of some town homeowners, and I saw that you already responded this morning, but it was with regard to the new townhomes that were turned over on Estuary
Mhm.
over, and that they were noticed with a fine for mildew. I guess the April pressure washing would not have taken care of that because that's low level. Right? It's
Sidewalks
just
only, flats, doesn't do homes.
okay.
That's correct.
Does the fall pressure thingy do all stories all the way up? Okay, so that'll take care of that.
And in the meantime, the homeowner is responsible.
Outside of service area cycles, the balance of the year.
The thing, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions, comments?
Okay. Come on, Esther, you gotta have some more in you.
Look at my list. We got the turnover, we got the pressure washing. I think we've got everything. Are you, Chris?
These meetings are also again posted on the Celebration website. You can always revisit them as long as you log in with your credentials. You can see the full meeting.
And you'll be sending the things that we're not. Thank you.
Very good. So no further input, motion to adjourn,
Motion?
second? Esther,
Yes.
thank you very much for joining. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you for adjusting the time for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
You too.
Thank you.
And in the future, this time.